Phyllis, we have roll call, please.
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. You were emailed a copy of our minutes from our January 15th meeting. I'd look for a motion to either amend or approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as emailed.
Give me a second, Craig.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. First order of business is an update with AECom and talk about where we're at, where we're going. Jim, you want to come up? And Carrie? Any of the other guys need to come up, you can. Flying solo tonight, are you? Just you. You're the only healthy one, huh?
Yeah.
How's Todd doing today?
Better. Sounds great. I'm here, I think, I just got the ankle surgery, so, but I'm still...
Did he have the respiratory thing or the...
Yeah, he 35 to 30. He coughed awful.
He had it for about a month.
Yeah. He's been out for...
I would advise you to.
Okay, so, Jim and Carrie, I don't think Bill and Craig know much about where we're at as far as what's happened in the last couple of days. I know I told Craig that we had a conference call with IDEM to ask for more time for our Phase 4, and I think that's about the last Craig knew. I hadn't really got with him on the results. So, Carrie, you want to kind of fill us in on... Is that mic on? Sorry. You have to talk loud, Carrie.
You have to hold it down for a couple seconds, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, we had a meeting, a phone conversation with Kara with Wenholt from IDEM, and we expressed our concerns and desire to have more time to look at the agreed order, and she was receptive to the idea, but she hasn't went ahead and given us her blessing either for this amount of time. So we're here this evening with Jim to make an amendment to our contract with them so that we can continue to work with them in going forward, because Kara did say that she needs an updated schedule, and anything that has to do with our compliance plan would also need to be updated and presented to IDEM to show this is what we're going to do going forward. Doesn't mean that they're going to accept it. They will probably come back and counter, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, in the conversation we had in the conference call, Don did a real nice job explaining how we wanted to attack the I&I and try to take a lot of the water that's getting into the system out of the system, and what that plan would include as far as lining pipe and whatever. And then Tim spoke about the acquisition of the properties and the situation we have with one property, and they seemed very receptive, and it sounds like from the conversation Carrie had that they're probably going to do something for us. We're just not sure what yet. So they've asked us to get with AECom, make this amendment, and present that back to them, and then we go from there. So
They asked for 3 years.
we're asking for 3 years is what we asked on the conference call. Yeah.
There's no assurance that we'll receive that, but that's what we're requesting.
So we're going to meet with Carrie and Don Thursday, sort of go over what Don's put together, the plan, and figure out, then make a call back to Kara, I think, and talk about what it is exactly you need to see from Decatur to help make the case. What's their expectation as to the plan and the schedule that sort of they want to see and something together.
So tonight, you're here, Jim sent us agreement, an agreement, amendment number 5, that would extend the contract that we're currently under. We still have some $30,000 left in that, so by signing this extension, Tim, you've looked over the whole thing, right? Everything else looks fine?
Yeah.
By signing this extension, it would then allow them the time and the fees that would be charged. I don't even think it wouldn't probably wouldn't use up all the 30-some thousand, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, we don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll take all that long, and don't think we will, but we just, that's when we need to have a conversation with Ida about, okay, what
Right.
is exactly, you know,
Right.
what are your expectations? So yeah, it's sort of funds are left over from the last amendment, the last piece of work that we didn't spend. So
Yep.
it's really just extending the time.
And Don, Jeremy, Kevin, I emailed you guys a copy of this. Did you see anything that, everything looked good to you? Okay. With that,
It seems positive that they're asking for the schedule, and I may be wrong, Jim, but I don't know what your thinking is on it.
I think it absolutely is positive. I mean, it'd be easy just to say no, right? Go,
Right.
go,
We didn't get
you have an
that.
agreed order, go do it. So the
Right.
fact that they're at least entertaining it, I think is positive.
Yes, revise your schedule and commit it to it.
Yeah, and I think there's two elements. One is the I&I work that Don laid out for them, but also some issues related to the site control. And I think the combination of those two probably gives them some reason to seriously look at extending this. So the question is how long and what impact does that have with regard to certain deadlines that will then need to be met.
printed one too. I'll give one to you.
Right.
Can you give us a cliff notes of what we're going to sign off on or vote on?
Basically, what this is, we have had a contract with AECom since May of 2016. We've had various amendments extending that to cover additional work that was not included in the original scope of work. This now is a further amendment. The scope of the work would be that there would be various meetings with the city and IDEM to assess what
Just read
the...
those 5 things right there. That's
Well,
pretty much tells it.
yeah, I mean, it just says that, you know, we're gonna have meetings, collect data, and then prepare a proposed plan and an agreed order amendment to submit to IDEM. Those are basically the tasks involved. It's designed really to give us additional time to do infiltration, investigation, remediation in areas where the data that has been compiled up to this date has shown where we have major issues. And the idea is that if we address those and remediate those, the hope is that it would reduce the size of the storage tank that we're required to design and construct at some point. What we're doing under this is not going to eliminate that need. It's just a question of how big the tank will ultimately be. And then the issue is what kind of requirements IDEM will require in order to give us the extension. So there's certainly going to be deadlines that will be established within that plan and what they require us to meet if they're going to grant the extension. So that's...
And Jim, do you think we'll really need to have that many meetings?
I don't know. I think it just depends on this call with IDEM, what it is they really want to see and hear from Decatur. If it's fairly straightforward and simple, then no. If it's more detailed and looking back, you know, what, you know, it could just remarkably detailed if they want to go into. I think it's just trying to...
You kind of put it in there to cover your back, I guess.
It's pretty
So,
Worst case scenario, it could be.
Yeah.
Bill, would you like to review one also before we take it to a vote or anything?
I think
Give them a minute to review this.
Talked about is, which Don has mentioned as well, you have, Mayor, that I mean, all this I&I work that will happen over the course of, you know, assuming IDEM gets some delay, the tank will be built regardless in some way, but it's work that should be done anyway. I mean, it's work that needs to be done and work that will benefit Decatur, even if it doesn't, it's, you know, greatly reduce the size of the tank or even has no impact on the size of the tank. It still works, it just has to be done and needs to be done. So it's time and money well spent, I think.
I agree. The services that are going to be performed, is this just basically monitoring? No, this is just an extension.
Go back to the scope of services.
Yeah.
Make sure they're attachment. Keep going back.
I mean, ultimately, it will result in an amendment
Next page.
submission to IDEM.
Yeah.
So
See the tasks that they'll do under this.
developing a plan and ultimately an amendment to Big Deal to IDEM for their consideration.
It's basically, Craig, after, if IDEM does give us the extension, we'll go out and start performing some of this at some point. I wouldn't say we would have to start all over, but there would be a delay, if you will, you know, with...
We'd have to monitor
To monitoring it and prove that we are going the right direction.
That would probably be a separate contract
Yeah.
for that.
Yes.
This is just to,
This is just to get the letter to I,
Right.
the amendment to the contract, or to the
agreed order.
agreement.
These 5 items pretty much cover it, bud. What they're gonna do with this.
Basically not asking for more funds.
2 pages before.
Time.
Yeah.
The money's already in.
Yeah, the funds.
We have an agreed order. They're going to amend the agreed order so that it tells in the agreed order what we plan to do over what period of time,
Yeah.
and that's it,
Yeah.
basically.
Like
These
there's
5 things right here.
likely some back and forth with items, my guess. But, yeah, that's it.
Well, it's kind of what we talked about, Jim, before. If we could get item to agree with us or give us some time, and like Donnie pointed out, some of these things possibly we could fix
Right,
or reduce the flow,
right,
and which would reduce the size of the tank, which
right. Save some money.
saves some money, which I guess that's our goal. And
Absolutely.
and when we all talked before, we thought item would be awful strict and say,
Right.
no, we...
Right. Your order's your order.
Exactly.
You agreed to
You
it.
you agreed to
do
it, go do it.
Right.
But I'm
They
glad
seem to be
that,
receptive to
I'm glad that we
hearing-
pursued
hearing
this,
that.
which
So-
is good.
So what you're proposing is that we allow up to $35,000 on time and materials basis with AECom to get us through
The
the
only reason
state.
that's the amount, that's how much is left in the existing contract. We don't think it's going to...
But it's up to time and
It is
materials
not to
basis.
that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
understand.
Yes. Okay, so I'd look for a motion to approve this amendment, allow me to sign it, and then we can move on.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second for approval of the amendment number 5 between the city and the engineer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, if you want a copy of this, take with you and give you one tonight here.
great.
Jim, if I have some questions on some of the drawings, who do I talk to?
My card.
Okay.
You got copies, Phyllis has got copies, we all got copies.
How do they usually bill that, Phyllis? Is it a monthly deal, or how do you guys do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually monthly, with a breakdown.
You basically break down a schedule of what you've done time and materials wise and send it to Phyllis, and then she pays it. Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
How many you need?
I just need
I just need one.
Phyllis. I could use another one just in case. Actually,
Could I ask a question? Who checks what they bill is what they're doing? Terry or?
I've been trying to look at it.
Okay, I mean,
Karen would approve the claims.
She
so-
approves the claim, and then
okay.
I double check that's the starting contract, and they match up to what we agreed to.
Good,
So,
okay.
Okay. Next thing, Zane Martins. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're with Marquee Builders?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have interest in connecting to the city sewer? Is that what it was? Yeah. It's a property that is just to the east of where we plan to build our water plant. And I guess the house was a house that burnt down?
Correct.
And they want to rebuild on the same location. However, in doing that, they cannot go with a septic system and a well or something. Is that correct? Or
We were just recommended that
the sewage?
the sewer would probably be a better option than a new septic
Okay.
for the site as close as it is.
So, sounds simple. I know I talked to Kevin, talked to Don, and I'm not sure Jeremy, a few of the people.
Turn him on and off again. I got a picture of what he's wanting to do, but turn it clear off.
Room off?
Now try to turn it back on. It froze or something.
No signal. Check the cable connections. Not good, Don. Not good. Let me turn it off again. Yeah, like I said, in theory, sounds real simple, but it was Kevin and I were talking, and if you connect, then as I understand, anybody else that line would run by, if they're within 300 feet or something, and looking at Barry back there, they would ultimately have to tie into it as well. Is that correct?
300 feet is the health department rule, but
Our ordinance says that if they're within 300 feet if the line's within 300 feet of the property line, the health department may require it.
May require it, okay. Because my big concern there is all the other houses right in there then would be...
Right.
the sewer district's rule is 300 feet within the property, the building. So we overlap just a little bit, but we're still, anything down along there is well within.
But that's nothing that would be coming anytime in like the real near future?
Near future, no.
Okay.
I mean, what do you call near future, I guess?
Right. I'm not going to answer that question.
So how many houses are within 300 feet of this property he's talking about, Barry?
All the way to town?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, probably. It has to be all the way to town, so.
All the people that were in here protesting this building, the water plant where it's going to be, there's about 5 or 6 homes total.
Well, there's 5 or 6 homes from going east, or going west.
From this house, they would have to tie into the sewer also?
Plus, you're looking at a water plant there, right? Yeah.
Right. So water and sewer? Are you requesting water and sewer or just sewer?
Just sewer.
Why would you not want water too?
At this point, they want to stick with the well. Homeowners may change their mind and want water as well.
So what are we going to do?
Are
Are they going to voluntarily be part of the city?
No, they're not
I know-
asking to be annexed.
I know in,
They're asking to run an extension of our main so that they can tie in. And by doing that, it puts these other properties potentially
At their cost, correct.
at an obligation to tie in on themselves, whether they want to or not.
That line.
the policy that a lot of other communities have, because this has been a real big topic of discussion amongst other mayors, the state is making it more and more difficult for annexation. And the rule of thumb is kind of becoming, you want services? Annex. That's not, we don't have that in an ordinance right now, but kind of the rule of thumb is becoming, if you want the service, if you're contiguous, annex.
Well, and I'll interject something right now. SB 94, I think it was, just passed out of the Senate.
Right.
It, in essence, eliminates involuntary annexation.
Yeah.
In the future, the only way that a city will be able to annex territory would be if it's a voluntary annexation. And so, if that gets through the House, it will effectively
Eliminate
any annexation unless somebody comes and asks to be annexed.
Well,
But I know that that's kind of becoming the norm. I mean, if people want city services, annex. Just that
can we do like we did at West Monroe?
It's not contiguous, so they couldn't request it.
I mean, it's not contiguous,
Right.
meaning there's 6 houses between them and...
There's not,
No, they don't butt up, their property does not butt up to the city's boundary. So they're located here, they want to run a line down here and tie in here, and there's 6 homes between them and where they tie in. Where this property line is and where the city boundary is, there's
About a
no
quarter-
connection.
about a
So you
quarter
can't-
mile
You can't
from the
jump
gun
over
range.
these houses and annex that property. That whole area would have to be annexed, and we can't
live right
force
there,
these
Lake
people to do it.
But if we go out there and we want to do it and they sign a remonstrance,
Well, this statute says whether they waived a remonstrance or not,
they
it doesn't matter.
Do you have
Okay.
to do anything with this one?
Yeah.
So-
It does away with that, this legislation.
Okay.
How'd we handle, that's going this way is Matt Baker's property.
They ran, they paid to extend a main all the way over, and then
For sewer.
for sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tied
They
in.
wanted a good system.
And that's basically what's being requested here.
Yeah.
But
on water?
he's not on water, he's on well. But the issue there was, there was nobody that would be forced to tie in, where in this case, there could be as many as 6 other homes.
That would be forced to do it?
Potentially
Well-
under the county's own
County,
ordinance. Because if these all these homes are within 300 feet of that line, then under the county ordinance, under the district requirement, if it's the home itself it's within, they would have to. In the county's ordinance, it's discretionary whether it would be required, and that would be up to the health department, as I understand. So by granting the request here, these properties potentially could be required to tie in as well.
And if those properties would be contiguous, some up, right, to the front of our, no? That goofy line we drew, huh?
Yeah, I don't think we'd have any that would be.
Nope. Now, if the entire block petitioned to be annexed, then we could extend our boundaries out. That would require all these properties requesting it as well. I don't think that will happen.
Currently, we do have some sewers out of town, like
Matt and Terry? Mhm.
in Yost Wood. It's not the ideal situation, but we do it now.
Well, I guarantee if they had trouble with their septic systems, it wouldn't be anything but they'd ask. They'd ask to come into to our sewer system.
What was that?
If they had problems with their septic systems, these
Yeah,
other 5 homes...
Yeah, they would want to
I
come-
guarantee you, they'd want to come in
Yes,
and
they
tie
would.
into our sewer.
No, is it?
It's going to incur the cost to get that pipe out there.
They would pay to extend the main out for them to put water in and tie in. But by running that line out, now every one of these homes could potentially be required to tie in.
So the best thing for the city would be have them doing it.
Yeah, Zane just brought up,
Would be what?
To do it.
brought up the point.
It's not,
They have information to come into this
Well, they
thing in
don't have
5
to-
minutes and make a decision on this livelihood of this guy and all these...
We don't have to make a
Well,
decision
these-
tonight, do we, or do we?
Right.
Are you ready to rock and roll?
We are ready to rock and roll.
This,
We are running-
they should be required, they could be
We are
required
running
to tie in
force
and not be
main
in
to
it.
the lane.
County could force them to tie in.
So what do we charge them?
So
1.5 times?
If we run
They
run
pay
along
out
the
of
road
city
there, we
rate,
could
yeah.
potentially have the same situation.
So if we
with
grant
probably
this,
3 of those houses.
Screw these people.
I think there's
Well, if
3.
you don't
We
grant
give
it,
these guys a break.
right.
I believe 2
These guys
Rotary
run
residents.
through their yards.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have to if we didn't allow this. So, our force main that goes to the lane of the water plant, that may put 3 of those homes in the same situation.
3 out of the 5 or 3 out of the 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6, I'm not exactly sure.
Right.
There's 2 options there for,
Go ahead.
On down, you could get that with a 2-inch. From the plant in, I don't know what kind of gallons per minute you're looking at. I think you're going to have a tank and pump slow into town. I don't think it's going to be a high rush of water. So you may be able to do that on a 3-inch and then run a 2-inch into it and catch those fairly reasonable. It's just whether or not how you want to design it and what you're going to allow to happen. I mean, you got to look for future. We may be coming right through there with their, I called the engineer when I was told about this tonight and just mentioned, with our next project, which we have coming in from Bobo and coming from Clem's Lake, we're kind of meeting in the middle. I don't know if that's a possibility, but, we're further out for his answer right now. We're a year out on that. But that's you could do it. I mean, you can get out there. I mean, this is going to be something that just you guys are going to have to look at hard, because we're hearing about, me and Jessica had to talk to Mark for a second, but we're getting these calls all around town, and people, they can't add on to their house, they can't do anything, they got to get sewer into town. You're going to be getting this call to you quite often. This is a start of something that's going to happen a lot.
Sidebar with you here a second, Tim.
That's what we
Somebody's wanting to tear down that burnt up house and build a new one.
We're just waiting on,
Right.
basically, septic or sewer approval to get a permit to go.
And it's less expensive probably for them to get.
We estimate it, yeah, to be about the same price, and, I mean, then it's a lifetime system,
And not dealing with country.
yeah, not dealing, and it's coming that way anyhow, so, I mean, they would be within the 300 feet.
We got it there, Don?
Sorry.
Can you get yours off?
If it was just them, it'd be one thing. but
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
And there's lots of areas in town that makes sense to go another mile out and bring that in, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
Every time you do that.
Okay, what do you got there, Don? That's the frontage of,
That would be our sewer line going to the water plant is going to come to that point.
which point?
He would be responsible to run
Which
the line
point?
across.
The wet line for
The left end of the yellow line?
Left end of the yellow line would be
That's the lane?
approximately where our force main is going to go for our new water plant. So he could, ultimately, he could hook on there, and he would be responsible to run across that field to his house, if we allow.
And at the right end of the yellow line, that's where he's building?
Yes, that's the house that burned.
This one's south side of the road, right here.
Yes, so same side of the road the water plant's on. But the time frame would be the thing, I think, that,
What size pipe would we want to require in there?
well, we'll run 2-inch, and it would be big enough for him to cross. And Barry's question was, do you just run it clear up to the corner and hook everybody in it? You know, if you're gonna run that far, I don't know what the answer is.
health departments are going to be,
See,
is that
all these homes here,
your building?
Yeah, that reddish.
so
Is that property line just there?
Right.
Across the road.
at one point, Barry's talking about running down to 300 and going south to Pickaway.
Have any of those homes been tested, Barry, do you know?
Jesse's.
Nathan, you want to jump in on that?
There's 9 homes that go all the way up to the road there on 300. We just pulled all the permits to see if there was any updated septic from there all the way to 300. There's only one house that is actually connected, that has a updated septic system, and it's 18 years old. According to the state, it's 10 years. They do an inspection, 5 years, and then 5 years, and then it's pretty much out. So he's at 18 years right now. 2 years we can make him hook in. So pretty much 8 houses right now we could require to hook in. One we'd have to be at like 2 years to get him to hook in with, according to the law.
Nathan, for the minutes, can you give me your last name?
Nathan Shear,
Okay, thank you.
9 houses from
9 houses from the start of where the line actually starts now. Where the existing line is, the lake shores.
Yeah, so that'd be the other
Nine
homes.
homes.
There might only be
Do we expect the other homes?
Normally use 3-inch pipe on that? It's always 2.
Yes.
Even if the other homes would hook in, we'd still be fine with 2.
If you-
The only way it wouldn't be is if the county decides to run through there, they'd run a bigger line than that.
Right.
Because
they're
they're gonna pick them.
But I always saw you'd oversize it, but you don't want to do that because it'll build up, right, it was a 2-inch force main.
Yeah, but then they each had to have their own turn traffic pump to get it out,
Right,
right?
they still
It'll
do.
be here.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's good enough?
Because what I heard, or what I learned was that if you oversize the pipe and you don't have adequate flow, gas will build up.
And it gets,
And
it
it corrodes
actually, solids will drop out.
Right.
One is
The amendment takes the place of that, it's just going to extend.
So your recommendation would be,
So would be you guys. I mean, what
I don't
you
have
let
the
them...
information to make a decision.
Well, if you allow him to hook into our line, but it's gonna be a year until our line's in, so I don't know what that does with his billing.
So he'd have to pump and haul for a year or so?
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know what I know you said summer,
We're
maybe.
about a year out. getting
Okay,
ours
so a
put
year
in.
now. Okay.
Maybe,
Yeah, so then you'd have to
maybe
pump off.
they
so.
need to talk to the property owners and see how receptive they are to tying in. If there's a lot of resistance, you know, it might be
We're
helpful for
not
you guys
gonna
to know
from
that
the
one way or
county
the other.
Until they get their grant money, whether they're gonna run it.
Right.
They get their money, they're gonna run that through it, and then we'll be looking into their problem rather than running our own. Basically, we gotta run up to the drive if the county does everything. He's asking to hook on where we stop.
The other thing would be if, you know, if we extend it out, is the county going to force those people to tie in?
Well, the other thing we can do is if we run it out to his, we could run it out to the corner and we can make them tie in rather than the county.
Well, we
And
could,
Then we're the bad guy.
yeah,
If we're the bad guy.
exactly.
So if you don't want to be the bad guy,
What happened,
we
Melissa?
allow him to get in our line.
How much more would it be for us to take it on the corner? Midwestern as to when they would be putting the storm in, because in this package on the water, they're bidding the finish line ahead of building the plant. I didn't see anything in that package for the sanitary.
I doubt that they're gonna do that up front. They'll do that at the back end. You think they'll do it up front?
Not really any advantage.
Once they open the ditch, they're gonna put two lines in.
Might eat a little bit.
More both.
It might just be some additional cost to get it there.
So,
That may be a
recommendations from department heads.
Yeah.
I'd let him hunt
You're
here.
gonna run this much when they run from here.
And then are you saying that when he gets it to that house, it's not that much further, he's gonna pay for that?
He's got to pay for the cost.
But then we'll immediately just be tied onto him and go onto the corner.
Just so we make it known to him that we'll take it to that drive.
He's responsible to go the rest of the
We
way.
had to allow him for easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you get there and run.
Well, is it our main now?
Let that be common.
It's our main. He's installing it. It's not his lateral, it's our main. And he's gonna tie into our main. So what he's doing is he's
We were
gonna
prepared to do that
dedicate it to
before.
us.
I didn't even
Right, exactly. I mean, we would do an easement just to establish where it goes, but then
Dedicated to
he
it.
would put it in at his cost, dedicate it to us, and then he has the ability to tie his property into our main.
He was just saying he was prepared. Remember, about a 2 inch from the house all the way to town. And then once our line goes in, they just tap it ours.
That's why
You'll get paid.
I would require him to put a 2-inch line in anyway. Probably.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They put 2 inch down for now. And once our line
So that he could hook up now and not pump them home.
That's what he said.
I
They
mean,
were
that's
prepared
gonna
to
be
do
silly,
that.
because we're gonna be running it within a matter of months anyway.
And our question was, for Midwestern, the whole scheme of things, and that sewer out there, it's already before and
Yeah. We're gonna
March
have
or
to get
April.
them too, yeah.
What he needs to build is for us to say, yeah, you can hook up. Whether he runs it all the way to Lake Shore, or whether he ties it on the line.
Either that,
Okay.
he's ready to go. That's not our problem.
You know, I guess for what he needs,
for us to say he can tie
he
into
can
our
tie
system.
it. Whether he has to run the line over to Lake Shore or he ties it on your main, whichever one's that first.
Let me talk. Zane?
Yeah.
As much as I can appreciate the situation, I think that we're not prepared to make a decision.
Okay.
And you might be ready to move forward, but I think that, in all honesty, I think we would probably need to table this and revisit it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know if you have 2 weeks, but if we have 2 weeks to get all of our ducks in a row here, I think it would really help us.
Okay.
So,
you want me to come back and...
do you two agree?
I agree. I agree, I don't know if he has to come back, we know what he wants.
Yeah.
You don't have to come back.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna argue your point. We're either gonna do it or not.
Anything to argue, but...
I think everybody's clear on what they want to do, right? Jeremy and Don?
You know, there's just some details we need to work out.
Okay.
And we got a phone number to contact you if they have questions, they can get a hold of you, right?
Yeah, I know Don does.
Don does, okay.
So
So if I get a motion to table this and let us,
Make a motion to table it until the next council meeting, which will be what, the 19th?
Board of Works meeting
Or Board of Works
on the
meeting,
19th. Yep.
We'll give you a decision.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Dan. I'm sorry we couldn't make a decision. We just weren't ready.
I think we may consider this.
Jeremy, ADA review, you ready for that tonight? Oh, it's canceled again? Oh, it's a council thing, okay.
There's no need to worry about it.
Okay, no, that's for sure.
That's up to them.
Put that on my agenda.
If they do sign, I don't think we require anybody to sign them unless the county do that. Because be your
Okay, so the next thing then, Melissa, Cam, who was going to talk about the Masters Heating Building? Masters Heating, Cam, is that you?
What did you say, Ken? I'm sorry.
They want to talk, they went over and looked at the Masters Heating Building, and they'd kind of like to discuss the long-term use, possibility of putting a sprinkler system in there, and whatever, so.
Who's this?
Cam Collier?
Oh, okay.
You don't have my notes, but anyway, no, this goes back to the whole, can it be repurposed, utilized for, I don't know, we call it auxiliary creative space for the people living in the lofts and or other people, right? What can be done on the cheap? What's the cheapest thing you can do? Basically giving them access to it, right? If we give them access to it and they tell us in the future what they need. But whenever we looked at it, and the biggest issue was, okay, if you had to sprinkler, what portion of it would you have to sprinkler? And I don't know that there was an actual decision made, but there's one side of it that could be, if you limited it to that area, like the welding to that area, you could, where a fire door, keep it to one side.
At the shop area?
Yeah, but the other issue is right now it's a, what is it, S1, but you'd have to make it I, right? You have to go to an industrial if you're going to, and so in order to go up from an S to an I, now you need to get an actual architect involved. So it's kind of like we wanted to explore to see what the actual cost would be, but you're looking at two things. It would be what could be done to limit requirements for sprinkler system and how could it be limited to one area, but then having to go from a design perspective from an S to an I. So that's obviously there's two expenses in that, even to get to that point to see, okay, do you want to proceed? So that's kind of where we got stuck was, okay, well, kind of chicken and egg thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Kurt, you had mentioned the architect from Goshen. So, and again, the idea would not be to put anything into it aside from making it available. That's really it. Because I think artists will tell you what they'll be, if they really needed something and need changes, they'd come and ask for it. But, I mean, from what we talked to the other artists out here in town, I mean, the sculptors, it was power. If there's the Apple Power, they're going to bring their own equipment in. There's actually a giant break over there already.
Is the ceiling high enough in that area?
I mean, we had gone over there with the guys from
Ace.
Well, Ace, but also the brothers from Missouri. They'd all been in there, and they thought it was a perfect space to do some things. Problem, I think in the one side it is a metal frame. The other side, you've got wood structures.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to get out of it if you're going to have an open flame in that area. But I think that you could actually take it to the one. It'd be to the north side. That addition on the north side is a metal building.
The one that's used for storage now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Majority of the storage is in the east side. the back add-on. But, yeah, the whole thing is storage now, which I realize is another issue, another complication, but I just think if it's going to be utilized to make the lofts more attractive to serious artists, that could be a good use of it. I don't know, I realize it's still owned by the utilities, there's a lot of different hurdles, but to even see what the cost would be, I think that's, you know, the architect's going to be a set cost. That's just to get the change going, but if I'm correct, that he would be able to get into the codes as well to determine.
The smart thing to do at this point, I know that there was talk about livable space somewhere else, but the smart thing to do at this point would be to just separate that shop area, put in a fire door, contain the sprinkler system to that one side based off of what the architect comes up with. And then later on, if they want to make changes, then you take into consideration the rest of the building. But he's still going to have to file a change of occupancy for dual occupancy from change one section of to an I. The remainder will stay in S1.
Yeah.
And then later on, if they decide, okay, we want to do woodworking over here, and we want to do apartments up here, then you attack that whole site
Separately.
together, separately from the shop.
So, I mean, I guess that's where we are. I don't know that there was specifically an ask. If it is,
We'd like to get quotes from an architect engineer, see what their fee would be, to do some investigating and create some quotes for the next round of what those next costs could be. And then if it's prohibitive, then we'll see
Back to the drawing board.
At least like to explore what, hire somebody and see what those costs could potentially be.
You guys all right with that? I mean, by consensus, it's not going to cost anything just to go talk to an architect and see if he'll...
Well, I don't know. I anticipate that it will cost something to let you know what we're looking for, and then to prepare a quote to bring back to you with what would cost for their services to go in and examine and create some quotes for work.
Tyler, what are you going to say?
I guess, are you asking to go get pricings from architect firms to see what it costs for them to design it, or have them get quotes on the cost of it?
Step one would be to get quotes from a couple architects, engineers, and see what would it cost for us to get them to prepare a report.
So we're just getting quotes at this point.
At that point, there's no cost.
Yeah.
But the next step.
Yeah.
So we can talk to an architect and ask him for a quote. That isn't going to cost, right?
I don't think, no.
No.
Is that all you're asking for tonight?
I didn't come with anything to ask, but yes, that's what I'm asking for.
I would like to move forward with investigating.
We want to proceed getting quotes for architects from architects.
I would say, if by consensus, it's okay for Cam, Melissa, whoever else was involved in this, to talk to someone and get some more opinions and possible...
I think it's good to know that it can be, segregated to one little area, but there's no doubt. I mean, if it takes off, and there's other things that go on, that could be major expenses in the future, and that's not the desire. It's simply to be able to say we have a usable space.
Mm-hmm.
It's been sitting there for a couple of years. We determined it wasn't junk. We didn't want to tear it down. We wanted to use it.
But it is being used, yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So we're going to get quotes, and we're not going to pay anything. We're just going to see what it's
They're
going
just
to
going to
cost.
talk to an engineer, architect, whatever, to see if he gets some more opinions, some free advice, I guess. Go from there.
Since the utilities own it.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to Kevin, and he's okay with us doing some homework
Yeah.
before we would tackle.
Okay. While you're still up here, Melissa, let's change topics, and Melissa, Cam, and Jeremy, I think it is, discuss the Boy Scout and Girl Scout cabin situation. What's up with that?
So, There was a young gentleman looking for an Eagle Scout project that came. I think Greg Kitson's the one who originally suggested, hey, what about converting the Boy Scout cabin to solar power? Okay?
Because there is a private individual that has been paying the electricity bill at the Boy Scout cabin for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
which is kind, but we'd like to relieve that person.
Yeah, and that's where this kind of started scratching heads and saying, wait a second. And the big issue was the Boy Scouts said, no, you can't do that because you cannot have an Eagle Scout project that supports the Scouts. And my argument was this is actually not a Scout. This is a city-owned thing, which was, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where Bill, I mean, from my understanding, there's no record of, I mean, this was built with donations and fundraisers, and then 2007, there was a new roof put on it, and that was all done through private donations. It was worked through the foundation. I know my dad was involved at the time, but there's no record of.
I think what happened was it was city property, and the city offered that property to the Scouts to put up a building. So it was done through donations, but I don't think there's anything that identifies ownership.
No, I went back to Larry, and Larry's been on the board ever since, 40-some years, and he said we do not own it, and he basically recited about what...
Does this fall under the jurisdiction?
What Tim just described.
Parks and Rec.
That scout cabin, I think, was built during the Depression.
It's
It's that old.
Then you got the Girl Scouts, which is newer, right? And that actually has plumbing in it.
under the control
I think.
of Park and Rec, but the Scouts built the building on it, so the question is,
Who owns the Girl Scouts?
Girl Scouts. We don't own that one either. They own the property all the way around.
When you say the Boy Scouts own it or Girl Scouts own it, who is that?
The Boy Scouts don't own it. The after we hear it, council won't lay claim to it.
Exactly. So nobody is claiming
So is the city
ownership.
insuring it under the Parks and Rec?
No.
So who owns the property that sits on it?
The city.
the city.
So who is
It's like-
responsible?
It's like you allowing me to build a building on your property. You own the property, but is that my building?
So if a kid gets hurt in it,
And then it
Who's
becomes
liable?
an issue, is it a permanent fixture, in which
Currently, we
case then
don't
it
believe
becomes
that
part of
it's
the real
owned by
estate.
anyone.
right?
Sounds to me like we've got a lot more issue than...
That's my point. If somebody, this all started off as who's paying the power bill, all that type of stuff, right? But then I honestly think that this is a liability issue because if somebody gets hurt on it, who's liable?
Right.
Because it ain't the Scouts. Because Anthony Wayne Area Council says it's not ours.
They checked with you, we're not insured.
No, it's
I
not
don't
our,
think so, listen.
it's not our
And the
building.
Boy Scouts are currently maintaining the cabin. I don't believe that the Parks Department does any maintenance. Is that- Yeah, so,
The Scouts have always done it.
We mow we mow the grass all the way around, and
Yeah.
that's all we do. I don't even think we have keys for the building.
When it was built, did the city own that property?
Sounds like a legal problem to me, Tim.
Well, what it is, it's really kind of an unwritten lease, because what you've done is
Helped them.
you've given the Scouts the ability to put up a building, and we'll allow you to do it, you maintain it, in lieu of paying us rent. And that's basically how it's been done. So, but it doesn't address the liability issues. I mean, I would think that if somebody got hurt out there, you'd probably see the Scouts and the city both joined in a lawsuit. Because the person that got hurt is going to say, I don't know which one of you are liable, but I'm going to sue both of you so that whoever is found to be liable, I get to recover. So I think it is an issue that needs to be addressed.
And I talked to Steve Higgins about similar properties in the region.
Who's Steve Higgins?
He is the district scout.
District executive.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So, like for example, down at Rainbow Lake, they had a scout cabin down there, and that eventually was sold to a private individual. Somewhat, I think, because of the same reason as who actually owns this thing and who's responsible for maintaining it. Because while the troop uses it, the troop doesn't own it. They have raised money through an ad hoc organization to maintain it and upkeep it, and a private individual is paying the power bill.
Are the scouts willing to maintain the building?
They already do.
I understand, but are they willing to in the future?
Not from a council level. You would never see Anthony Wayne Area Council take that on, or even the district. It would be
Decatur people.
the Decatur troops, which is not an actual organization.
Greg Kisson's he heads up all the maintenance, and there's supposed to be an account through the United Way to pay the electric bill. Because there actually is, when you break down the United Way, there is a fund in there for the scout cabin.
Okay, the issue that you get into is this a permanent fixture to the real estate? If it is, then the city should own the building. So what you could do is you could have the scout organization quitclaim whatever interest they have in that building to the city, and then the city, if their scouts are willing, could enter into a lease agreement with the scouts that you have the right to use the building, but instead of paying us rent, you maintain it. Then it's clear who owns the property. Then you've established the insurable interest so you can get insurance on it. But the city doesn't assume a liability of maintaining the property.
And if that was the case, there was an ownership that the city owned it, then said, and this is not why we're doing this, but then said Scout could have an Eagle Scout project to put solar power into the thing.
Because it benefits the entire community. Anyone could use it at that point.
I think in all likelihood that might make the most sense if it was owned, if the building, since they can't legally own it, that the city take ownership of it and assume the liability on the insurance and make it a city building, try to get some kind of a local agreement with the Boy Scouts to continue to do all the maintenance on it.
I think we need to look at this from both the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and their organizations work very differently, right? The Girl Scouts have one parent organization, the Boy Scouts have endorsement agencies like the Lutheran Church, right? So, but to say that the Boy Scout troop owns it, that means that their endorsing agency would own it. That's not what we're trying to do. So
I think you should incorporate both Girl Scout building and Boy Scout building when you're going through this process.
Is this something we need to have a meeting with the
Girl Scout building
local?
At this point, we would have to do some homework on how the Girl Scout part works. We don't know anything about that.
Understand, but I think we should do both buildings because they're both sitting on city park property. So.
Right. And I don't know if the Girl Scouts are currently insuring their building or how they are operating, but
I'm going to guess no. But
They're just existing, just like the Boy Scouts.
How quickly do we need to react on this for the Eagle Scout project?
the student is a sophomore, so
you got the time.
we're in good shape, I think.
If he finds another project in the meantime, he finds another project. But what we should take from this, the takeaway is that we should be having a meeting of some sort with both the Boy Scout troops from Decatur and Girl Scouts, right? About.
Do both troops use it, Bill?
What's that?
Do both troops in the community use it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, in the Cub Scouts.
If you establish some type of lease arrangement with the scouts, where the scouts would maintain the building, is it an exclusive easement or lease with the scouts so nobody else could use it, or is it?
Doesn't the parks, don't they hold things out there already?
Parks, well, have access to those buildings. They have come to me and wanted to borrow it, want to use the keys, and it's not a big deal, you know, just we open it up for them.
As long as nobody gets hurt.
Right. So I just got to stay away from that.
I think it's worth, definitely locally, I don't know about the Girl Scouts piece. I don't know who is that contact. Do we know?
Rachel Almond does it, and so I can't remember the girl, starts with a J.
Is my local
Yeah, Armando.
Two girls, Rachel Almond and I can't remember her name, it starts with a J, her last name is spelled weird. I can't think of her name, but anyway, they put, there you go. There you go. They put a bunch of money in it, and they did the same thing as Boy Scout, and made a bunch of improvements last couple of years on it.
Okay, well, I don't think there's any decisions that need to be made, but I think, you know, maybe Cam and I and Bill, Melissa, we can all try to round up all the people that might be necessary and have a sidebar meeting with them sometime and then come back and report again, so.
I mean, I don't think there's any pressing, it's just...
No.
I just started to...
The liability thing is a concern, though.
And who's paying the power bill?
We need to check into that. Get this thing released and done.
Well,
So the kids can do the sure out project and find out from the girls.
Yep. Jeremy, Don, Kevin, Carrie, camera talk, TV talk, whatever you want to call it.
TV talk?
You want me to try this again, Don?
You can, but it ain't like your dad agree. You try it, turn on, it's still green, I'm sure it is. You're not power the whole system down, and I can't do that without stopping your recording.
We're all right.
Okay.
Anyway, about a month ago, we came and talked about several different things, and one of them was to let you know that we were demoing some sewer cameras, kind of looking into some different possibilities, seeing what was out there, kind of exploring our options. At that point, the only one that we demoed was a Q system from Brown Equipment. Since then, we've demoed an IBOC system from Jack Duhaney Company and the Envirosite from Best Equipment. There's a lot of similarities with all three of them, but there's a lot of different, basically the difference in a lot of them was the cost. A lot of them do the same work and such, but we've basically got it narrowed down to a preference that we would like to pursue. Now, backing up a little bit to the beginning of the meeting, when Jim was up here from AECom and was talking about the additional work that needs to be done and such with going back to our conversation with IDEM a week ago.
Yeah, if we could, let's just kind of include smoke testing and everything, because that's the next thing on the agenda. Let's just kind of do all this at once.
I'm just going to try to roll it all together.
Yep.
But what everyone is starting to get basically on the same page with, you know, the additional work that needs to be done with the smoke testing, with cammering and cleaning. Because when we ask IDEM for more time, that's what they're going to expect. You know, we said in the meeting and we explained to them why we want to do what we want to do. Going back to our flow studies and the reports that we received here 4 or 5 months ago, it shows you on the flow results that in areas where a lot of our hot spots are. You have the Jefferson Street sewer, you have the Monroe Street sewer, and you have the Marshall Street sewer. That's all CSOs. For an example, your Jefferson Street sewer is right at 50, just shy of 50% of your I&I issue. So if you figure that out in the mileage in the blocks, that's 10% of your downtown. That's causing 50% of your problem. Don and I have went out a few times. Don's went out several times on his own. I've kind of followed him up because years ago, when Commonwealth was basically asked to leave, John Schultz, and before we kind of grouped everybody together into Public Works, John Schultz tasked myself and a few others with going around and doing a lot of these separations and doing a lot of the sewer extensions. So when Don goes out to smoke, he calls and says, hey, you know, what about this, what about that? I've been walking him through what we did, what was not completed, what was public, what was private, what still needs to be done. So we're looking at several
very good possibilities that, you know, we can reduce a lot of this I&I. So what we're going to ask for, and hopefully IDEM will go along with this, is basically we start over on some of the smoke testing. We back up to First Street and we start working. We pick, you know, obviously Jefferson Street sewer is the hot spot. We start working in that Jefferson Street sewer, which branches out to Adams and some of those others. We do additional smoke testing.
And we notify all the homeowners.
You know, we're documenting a lot of this stuff. There's things that we have found that has temporarily taking some relief off the properties that need to be corrected, the property owners that are contributors. There's several of those around that are big sources. I'm not going to really specify at this point, but we've found a lot of good possibilities. So what we would like to do is we would like to purchase a camera system. After we purchase a camera system and go through the training, is start to do a lot of cleaning, which is jetting, inspecting, and looking at these sewers at different points, prior to the rain events, after the rain events. Do some dye testing to determine where a lot of this is coming from, and we're pretty confident we can knock a lot of this back and do away with a lot of this I&I that we're having, which is reduction in operating cost at the wastewater plant because you're not treating all the water, you know, the wear and tear on the lines, possibly the size of the tank, the infill for phase 4. There's a lot of real contributors that are coming into play. In the Jefferson Street sewer, we found a lot of cracking that would be basically slip line, where they would just basically come in and line the sewer that would seal the sewer up. It would increase the flow, you know, just increase the general use of the pipe all on its own, the life expectancy. We've also found on Jefferson Street in between what we have fixtures or manholes, if you will, to where there's the top of the pipe's laying in the bottom of the pipe. So it's actually broke off and it's laying there. You know, those situations you would have to get plumbing or somebody to dig those up and make a permanent repair on some of those. Of course, all this comes with a cost. You know, a lot of these lines are restricted due to lack of cleaning. Just, you know, other priorities have been put in other places along over the years. So kind of in a nutshell, cammering, smoke testing, jetting, cleaning, inspecting, lining is going to be a real popular topic that we're going to have to be talking about over the next few years. How we would like to go about this is to purchase the camera and also rent basically what we call a combo truck. A combo truck is
You rent the truck?
Yeah. What we do is we rent that combo truck, just like we would if we were cleaning catch basins every other year or a month. We will probably rent it for a few months, go out and do a lot of cleaning, send the truck back, and then do a lot of televising, inspecting, and working with AECOM to figure out where and why and how a lot of this is getting in.
Why do we not buy the truck? Why do you lease the truck?
You would just rent the truck for probably
You're only going to
probably $25,000 instead of spending $300,000, almost $400,000 on the
You're only going to be able to get
camera truck.
Not the camera.
Not the camera. Okay, gotcha.
We're talking a TV truck or a camera truck and a combo truck.
Right.
Clean, inspect, work with AECOM, figure out what we need to line, what we don't need to line, and go from there. You know, we went back and I rattled Nate Broomslog's brain a little bit on this the last few weeks of things that he and I talked about when I was working on this prior to Nate coming and then Nate leaving, kind of bringing everybody kind of back up to speed on where we were, where we were at, and where we are, and where we need to go back to. We're headed the right direction. There needs to be some time spent over the next few years of trying to get all this situated. And, it's repairs you're going to have to make anyhow, and why not put the money towards the repairs versus not doing the repairs, building a tank, and then probably still have to do the repairs long-term anyhow and be treating them with water. So basically, with this camera, we can do the inspecting, and also even other jobs. It can also be used to detect water leaks. You know, if you have water main breaks that have not surfaced, you know, potentially you're going to see a lot of them, you know, surfacing, or not really surfacing, but running in the sewers. Also with sinkholes, you know, we do nothing, we're going to see a lot of sinkholes. You know, we get a lot of sinkholes now, but it's going to make the sinkhole repair process a whole lot smoother by being able to just put the camera in, see what's going on, pull it out, okay, we need to dig here, or, you know, that whole lines are, you know, bad, we need to close the road down and replace the whole thing. You know, so it's a lot of the logistics portion of it. So kind of cutting to the chase, we did, like I said, we did demo 3 different cameras. We spent a lot of different time with different camera manufacturers. And the one that we feel the most comfortable with is an iBox system from Jack Duhaney Company. That system is available through Sourcewell. It's the same, it's formerly NJPA, it's how we bought the street sweeper on the state bid. That cost for an actual truck, the camera system, the training, they're throwing in all the training, the delivery and everything, $256,778. With that, you get into the software cost, which the software cost, there's 2 different options for the software. The software, one of your options is, you know, you pay $10,000 for it up front, you buy all your upgrades and all that, or you lease the software for $2,000 per year, and they throw in all the upgrades, all the training. So, you know, you're leasing the software versus purchasing.
And probably support.
And support everything. We've talked with Kevin, we've talked with Carrie and Ken several different times. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, if things changed from this morning, but you felt pretty comfortable with splitting this between storm and sewer because it would be used on both sanitary and storm.
Stormwater department and sewer department.
Wastewater
department. Carrie, say your piece.
With our request to item for more time, my concern with purchasing a camera, you know, while it'd be a wonderful tool, is that the most effective use of our money. We know there's defects out there just by doing the smoke testing that Don has done and what we've done in the past. Should we spend that money and go fix those defects versus buying a camera? Should we hire it done? There's units that will clean and televise all in one for about $4 a foot. Would that be a better use of our manpower? And then we could come in and do the corrections and we'll fix the defects. So those are my concerns that I see.
But we're looking more of a long term. We're not just looking one time through the city and, you know, we're going to market it. It's more of a 15-year purchase that, you know, I get it. It's a lot of money.
Personally, I'm kind of on the fence. I would love to see us get the camera, I was just out at a wrestling match a little bit ago, and Dan Rickard was there, and he was sitting right behind me, and I told him this was going to come up tonight, and he said, "You wouldn't believe the communities I go to that have those." He goes, "A lot of communities a lot smaller than Decatur have them." He says, "Ossian has one." He says, "We're seeing them everywhere." So that kind of made me lean toward the side of I think I have to support getting it. But my biggest issue is we're going to rent a vehicle to jet and vacuum. We're going to have to line the old lines, the cost of all of that. And if we shell out $256,000 for this, do we still have, I'm looking at Kevin, are we still healthy enough to do all of this out of our utilities fund?
I think so. With the clarifier project wrapped up, that was a big drain on the operating fund, which was over $1 million that we paid out there. So that'll be done with possibly one more pay application, and we're over 3/4 of the way done with that. So once that is done, that fund rebuilds itself fairly quickly. So,
But this is going to find lots of projects that need done. That are we going to set a budget a year of how much of these projects are we going to fix?
and that'll be part of
Because it'll find plenty of defects.
Well, if we get this extension from IDEM, there's going to be a certain amount of things that we have to fix.
So we're going to have to, not guarantee, but give them that we're willing to put this much money towards these fixes too. So that's what we have to go to IDEM with, for what we're willing to.
The other avenue is you do nothing, you stay status quo and wait on the sinkholes to show up. We'll put $8 million in a storage tank. And still have the sinkholes. Still have. I'm sorry to be that way, but I'm just going to put it out there black and white.
The other part, I watched all three of those camera deals go down. The other part I like about this is we're getting ready to spend in this next year the most money we've spent in how many years on paving projects. I certainly would, if we have a camera and we have time, and we can check the infrastructure before we pave these roads. I mean, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, 16 years ago, we're paving roads, and next thing you know, you got the water department or sewer department out there cutting a backhoe through there. I mean, if I look at the customers that we're serving, which are other taxpayers, we have this at our own time frame and can use it prior to these paving projects. I think we can check our infrastructure and make sure it's solid. If it's a long fix or an expense, I'd prefer to have that on our time schedule than somebody else's that we would go rent. Because there's a window of time. I mean, I think that's a great idea, Carrie, about the $4 a foot. That sounds so reasonable in my opinion. But if everybody did that, when would you get in?
Well, the other, we've got a recent example of that on 3rd and Monroe Street. Shortly after that was paved,
We tore it up.
we tore it up.
About a week after.
And that doesn't make us look very smart, in my opinion.
I know there's companies out there that will jet and clean in camera. We've used them in the past, several times, lots of times. And here we are, getting ready to spend $8 million to build a tank because these companies haven't found the problems. They found some of them, but they haven't found all of them. I think if we're looking at this ourselves and we're analyzing our own infrastructure, it's more important to me that we fix the problem, not, okay, we found 20, that's good, send it down the line. I think that's what happens a lot.
And the beauty of the camera too is you'll be able, that we own the camera, you'll be able to identify issues on the fly. You'll be able to pull up to a job, find exactly where you need to dig, so you're not digging in 3 different spots to find a hole.
Yep.
All these great things that we're going to do. We got the manpower. When we still have life to carry on. Everybody still has their job to do.
Well, that's what we hired Don to do.
I mean, that's my biggest question. I mean, I don't want to be the fair or bad news here, but we're going to put $250,000 in the camera. Who's going to run that camera, and how often is it going to keep? I mean, I want that 250.
There would be about 3 to 4 people that would be certified to run it. You actually get through a certification
But I mean, that
class
thing,
through the company.
in my eyes, that thing should be running 3 or 4 days a week.
Well,
Till we
it's
get
going to run more than that.
It's going to run more than that. because you guys are wanting to do more in the downtown.
But we got the manpower to run it that long?
You look in your catch basins and see the toilet paper going by. How are you going to do your downtown improvements without looking for the stuff and taking care of it?
Is it an either-or proposition? In other words, you can't... I think what Kerry's driving at is the urgency to comply with the agreed order. So do you rent the camera to identify things and then use some of the money that you were initially going to spend and then eventually buy the camera? Or are you saying, Jeremy, that there's a real need for other purposes besides the sewer project?
It's daily.
And you're better off doing it?
It's daily.
Yeah, I spent a week down on Park Street looking for storm sewer issues, digging multiple holes where we could have cameraed that and found that in a few hours.
I think it's important to remember too, like when Nate was with us, this was a conversation we were having.
Oh yeah.
This is something we were talking about, wishing we had, looking into, but we never did. And it had, I mean, how many of those issues over the last how many years could have been?
How many times do you dig a hole in the pavement because you can't see through the pavement? And you're digging holes and holes and holes. Oh, the last one, that's where we should have dug out the first time. It's going to eliminate it.
Yeah, our conversation with Nate this week, Ken was there for it, and Nate was, man, that's what you should, we needed to do that years ago.
But again, I'm for it, but if we buy a $250,000 camera system and find $10 million worth of projects, do we have $10 million to fix these projects?
Prioritize, Matt, you pick your worst problems.
Yep.
You pick the ones that are going to collapse in the next 5 years if we do absolutely nothing, because it is going to happen.
If
what
you do
we've
nothing,
seen,
you
it'll
might as well go out and patch your sidewalks out on 2nd Street and just leave them the way it is, because the way that street's starting to drop in places, and the smells you get in downtown when you got to throw rugs over your catch basins during the concert series because you can't stay in the sewers.
They've looked and looked and looked to try to figure out where that's coming from.
$250,000 is a pretty small number when it comes to paving budget.
Did you, for sure?
We found it.
You guys have told me you found it before, too, though.
Hey, meet us behind the post office at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
It was the post office?
No, meet us behind the post office.
Okay.
We'll show you
I don't think we want to discuss that in public.
that's been going on.
And also, if the end goal is still to get a camera, I don't think it'd be smart to put $70,000 to pay somebody else to do it for a short time when you could put that $70,000
towards the camera.
towards the camera that we own.
I know Ogden has one, but it's less than we rent it from them.
And that hasn't been brought up.
The county has asked.
Yeah, we could do an inter-county, because Monroe's not going to want to spend that kind of money, Burn's not going to want to spend that kind of money either.
I mean, I remember we borrowed, rented a circle hole, a manhole cutter a while back.
And then borrow. Yeah. No, the county has
We're not going to lend it out. We may...
Oh, no.
I think it needs to go out for a certain...
Be like an interlocal agreement, like we do.
That's what, interlocal agreement.
Like I do with the storm sewer stuff right now with the county.
At this point, all we're doing is bringing it to your attention, and
Kevin thinks
whatever the decision is, it is.
It's a tool.
The utility...
Bill and
Are you making a suggestion?
Yes.
You're recommending the purchase of this. The question is,
Suggested.
you're over, I mean, do we have the ability to just go out and buy it?
It's under the state bid, it's under...
It's under the state bid?
It's
Okay, that's what
right
I'm...
here. It's the same way we bought...
All right, so we do have the ability.
Under Sourcewell or...
Yeah, that's fine.
And JPA.
And we did go and get 3 very close. But we...
And this is the lowest of...
Is there a gentleman out there that had raised his hand?
Ben, identify yourself.
Ben Warner from Best Equipment. I can't stand, sorry, I got a corn 8 MCL. Completely unbiased here. You guys, anybody...
Ben represents Best
Equipment.
Best Equipment. They were one of the, he showed one of the cameras, yeah.
We are not the low price that he's recommending. I'm an Adams County native, he doesn't know me, but I do want to say this, you guys have a very capable crew. very, very capable operator in Don, picked up the controls on our system immediately. Those of you that are worried about it being used and worried about it being a valuable asset to you should not be worried. You're way more qualified here in Decatur with the people that you have to run it than people that I see around the 19 counties I've covered. So just from knowing that sometimes these decisions get made to not purchase equipment like this, even if it's not my equipment, I say buy this equipment because you'll benefit from it. This is the type of equipment that you need to fix the problems that you have. If you're under an agreed order, this is step one. So that's just my opinion.
Yep, thank you, Ben. Any more discussion?
It's like the fire truck that you spend that kind of money on and you use it when you need it.
You got anything more, Jeremy? Don? Anything?
No.
I'll make a motion that we leave it up to Jeremy and Don to purchase.
To move forward with the purchase? Bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Jeremy and Don to proceed with the purchase of a, whatever it's called, camera. Huh?
E-Bucks.
E-Bucks. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
You have your permission. I had two other things on the agenda, but we're not going to cover them. Lenny, you got off the hook tonight. We'll save you for next time. Anything else that we need to discuss? If not, I'm going to adjourn. Phyllis has something. Phyllis has something.
Your contract, we're going to have another Mercy's Beetle concert.
Yep.
So we're doing everything pretty much the same. I just need permission from the mayor to sign. If you have one more place to sign.
That was the right
I didn't print this out, but Melissa said you already.
That was the right thing to do.
This much, it was this last year.
Oh, absolutely.
You're aware of that, but they combined some of it.
Yeah, that was sound that was made last year. This year's all together.
So this agreement is with lighting production and e-tickets, and then we also got an agreement with the North Adams
Schools for the use of this.
for the use of the auditorium.
Agreement with North Adams Schools to use the facility, an agreement with Lightning Productions, which is the outfit that represents the Mercy Beatles, and what was the third one?
E-tickets.
E-Tix, which is the agency we're going to sell the tickets through. So if I could have a motion to sign off on these, we'll have a concert on May.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second to sign off on these, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Sign those later. What else you got? Reserve officers?
Police reserves. We're sworn in. We just need to make their oath of office a matter of record. Brody Shane, Paige Vanover, and Andrew Smith.
I'd like to make that a matter of record.
Second. I have a motion and a second to make this a matter of record. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Tim, you have anything you have to say? Look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.